I'm like, you got to put me on the horse. I can't just walk into town, put me on a horse. There's kind of that underdog mentality of like, I just want to see this guy win. A lot of hilarity to come. I got to do a lot of things that I had never done before as an actor. So I was like, oh no, no.
Hi, everybody. I would like to welcome Jon McLaren to the podcast today. Hi, Jon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. For those of you watching, Jon plays Sam on season 2 of When Hope Calls. So I'm super excited that you are able to join me today. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about Sam. Tell me if I'm wrong or right. I believe that Sam is the only character that was recast for season 2 of When Hope Calls. Is that correct?
That is correct as far as my knowledge goes. Yes, yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that casting process? What was it like to find out about this part, and then maybe a little bit about the audition process?
Yeah, I mean, the way it works in our world is, our agents kind of have the task of finding us different roles that might suit us, and when they come across our desk, we typically just get a breakdown or a short synopsis of what the show is, and we'll also get character breakdowns as well for the different characters. But funny story is I was actually going back through my emails and stuff for the show before we were talking today, and I came across my original audition for Sam, but at the time I didn't actually know it was for Sam. It was actually under a different name.
Okay.
I think they had named it Jake or something like that.
All right.
And so that's who I auditioned for, and that's who I booked. And it wasn't, and I remember now, it wasn't until later that I found out that it was actually a recast and I found out in the moment at one of our cast dinners with the studio. Yeah. And it was, I remember it was like, yeah, that was a bit of a shock. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so this character's been around. Good to know.
So when you found out that the character has been around, did you go back, watch any of season 1, do any sort of research to kind of figure out what we knew about Sam before this role?
You know, I'd gone like I'd recognized the show and I knew it had been around, and so I'd watched a couple of episodes from season 1 just to kind of get a vibe of how the show is for audition purposes. And then having found out, I was like, do you want me to go back and like really do a deep dive? And they're like, maybe just watch the Christmas special because it was the most up-to-date episodes of the show, just to kind of see where the character is. But and nobody officially told me, but I kind of got the sense that, and I don't know why they named him Jake. Maybe there was other plans in the work, and maybe it really was a Jake. And then they were like, no, let's keep it Sam. And I don't really know what happened, but as an actor, you spend a lot of time like learning to trust yourself and trust your own instincts and what you bring to a character. And so I didn't want to, I guess, tarnish that in any way. Like I just kind of felt like I was brought to this project for a reason, and I should just trust myself and bring myself to Sam the best way that I can, and not lean on anything that was previously done unless there was any major story beats that they wanted me to kind of be mindful of, if that makes sense.
That's great. And we
Yeah.
know that in the Christmas episode, there were hints of Sam and Maggie. So that was probably good to know a little bit about that, I imagine.
Yeah, that was one of the things they said. They're like, just kind of like maybe watch the Christmas special real quick. And, Brookfield's a small town, right? So, I imagine in a very small town, everybody kind of knows everybody, and everybody's maybe a little nosy, and, they maybe sometimes they see things that aren't there. Maybe sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But everybody's always kind of talking and chattering, right?
Oh, yeah. That's everybody knows everybody's business,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about Sam, who Sam is, why he's in Brookfield?
Yeah, I mean, Sam is, and much like, season 1, he's kind of the town handyman, but he's also a prospector. And Sam to me is just kind of this really kind of down to earth, kind, caring, guy who is, I think, his core, someone who's a big dreamer. And I think, as you'll see as season two progresses, he's somebody who's really trying to find himself, find, maybe his definition of home, and where he belongs and who he is as a person. And I think that's kind of a theme you'll see throughout season two.
Got it. So, can you talk a little bit about, and I've heard from some of the other cast members that it's a pretty unique and special situation to actually walk onto the set of Brookfield, which is like a town in and of itself. Can you talk about your first experience when you arrived in Brookfield?
Oh, it was a mixture of excitement, of nerves. I think anybody who tells they're not nervous on the first day of set, I think, is
Yeah.
putting up a wall. I think, you walk in, and I was actually lucky, because it's funny, because I had actually technically been to Brookfield before. I had filmed there previously, but they had completely repurposed it into a more modern day town for a Christmas film that I shot. And so I
Oh,
had actually been to that set before, which was really interesting. But it was even more of a shock when I walked on the set to have it repurposed completely into Brookfield as you know it. And it was like jumping into a completely different era of time from modern day. I think it had been like maybe a year at most before that I was there. And then, what the production team did with the design, and purposing it back into Brookfield, that I had never seen before. And it was completely mind blowing. I mean, I've said it before, as much as we as actors bring, ourselves to the character, just as much of those characters is the wardrobe you wear, is
mhm.
the set decoration you have around you. It really completes a full picture of who we are as individuals in the show. And it was completely mind blowing. So it's a lot of fun, and then there's the nervous side of you, because you just, the human in me just really wants to do a great job. I mean, it's such a great show and such a great team. And you walk in, and you got the director over here and the producers kind of all huddle around the tent, and they're just constantly like watching you. I'm like, so you kind of got to find your footing. But I mean, everyone was so welcoming. It was
Different than doing like a movie of the week, I imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting, because with a movie of the week, you're really only there for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks if you're lucky. And I always find with those, it's like you come in, and it's like just around the time that you just kind of start to click with people and really get to know them. They're like, and that's a wrap. And they're like, see you later. And you're just, bye. And you're just kind of you're gone. And in some cases, you don't get the opportunity to work with those people for, a very long time, if ever again. But what was really neat coming to the Brookfield set was, especially where some of the crew is concerned, like Johnny Yap, who was our DOP, director of photography. He was there, and I knew him very well. We hit it off. I've worked with him multiple times, so it's like just meeting up with like your best friend, And our script supervisor Ashley, like, I've known her for years, from all the way back from my hometown when I originally got my start. And so there's little people here and there that I knew, and it's just a lot. What's interesting is Brookfield, in a lot of way, and the show in a lot of ways, is about coming home. And so I kind of had that in real life experience, sorry, coming to Brookfield for the first time. So it was really interesting, a lot of fun.
I imagine that's also when you have a bit of nerves, nice knowing that you do have familiar faces around that you can kind of ground yourself a bit.
Yeah, and it's funny, because I didn't walk into that situation knowing they would all there. Like, I had my hopes. I'm like, I hope they're still in the city and still and
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
So you walk in, and then it's like you turn a corner, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Hey. So it's nice.
Can you talk a little bit about your first scene that you filmed?
Yeah, I think the first scene I shot was, I think, the opening scene that we see in episode one, with Sam kind of coming back from his long journey away with prospecting. And looking a little disheveled.
Is that why that had to be the first scene because of all of this?
Kind of because of all of this. Yeah. I mean, truth be told, I've struggled in this category my whole life. I'm not as full as Sam is, unfortunately, and I don't think I'll ever will be. But yeah, it would take me a long time to grow something like that. My brother, on the other hand, he could grow the full Sam treatment easy. But yeah, so that I had a lot of help in that area in terms of the facial hair with Sam, and that was a big ordeal that I think took us probably an hour or so to put that thing on. And I had some I think the day before I had we'll call it a hair test where I went in and they kind of had it was bigger and they trim it down to the look that they want and then put it back on and glue my face all together. It's a bit of an ordeal, but he really did need a cut and a shave quick.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that was so that was a bit of a challenge. Brookfield, you Sam comes into town with his horse. Have you worked
yeah.
much with animals in the filming that you've done in the past?
Yeah, I'm in real life too. Is he still there? He was there. My dog was
Very
there.
well behaved, by the
Yeah,
way.
he's
I
just
was
hanging out.
checking
I
it
think
out.
he ran upstairs because he hates when I'm on the microphone. Because I do some like live streams and stuff too. And every
Yeah.
time I start, he's just like, bye.
Oh, brother, here we go again.
I'll be upstairs. Yeah, yeah.
Let me know when you're done.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I'm a big, especially a big dog guy, but I've worked with dogs before and I've been on other shows with horses, which was really nice. And so I wasn't too much of a fish out of water, so to speak, with the horses. You have to have a real certain level of care with different animals and stuff like that, especially something, like a horse. They're very, very powerful animals.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful, and they have animal wranglers there on set that are professionals just to kind of get you acquainted with that specific horse because just like humans, they're all different. So you have to learn, right? But
Yeah.
no, I was very very comfortable, and I was actually nonstop bugging Alfonso, our showrunner. I'm like, you got to put me on the horse. I can't just walk into town. Put me on a horse.
And he didn't put you on the horse.
No, not yet, anyways.
Not yet. There
Not
we
yet,
go.
anyways. Not
Okay.
yet, anyways.
All right.
We'll see.
Okay. So going back to season one, Sam, I was rooting. I'm a big fan of Sam. Um, During season one, there were hints that there was a little bit of Sam Lillian, going
Yep.
on. Um, so tell us now that things have changed a bit, aside from the romance and all of that, why should we be rooting for Sam?
I think just because he's that classic kind of, down to earth guy who's just trying to find his place in the world and, create a good life for himself. And find his definition of home and who he is, and I love Sam as a character. He's such a dreamer. Like it takes a lot for people, you know, to get out there and follow their dreams. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's a tough road to follow. It really, really is. And I know that as an actor, and that's what I love the most about Sam. And I think there's just something inherently in all of us that we do like to see people win,
Yeah.
right? When you see somebody going out there time and time again, prospecting and continuously coming back empty-handed, not getting what they want, even though they're working as hard as they can. There's just something, there's kind of that underdog mentality of like, I just want to see this guy win,
Yeah.
whether it be with his work, whether it be in love, whether it be in finding himself. And I think that's something really special and something that I love personally
Mhm.
about Sam. And there's some similarities there, I think, between the two of us. So
That's cool. Yeah, I would say on this side of it, I always saw Sam as a bit of an underdog, trying to find, what's that thing. So it's been cool to see how that has kind of transpired over the last little bit.
yeah, yeah.
So as a prospector,
Hmm.
how often Has he, will he be in Brookfield?
That's a tricky question to ask. I see what you're doing.
Maybe
I
not. I mean,
maybe not. Maybe. I mean, I think that Sam just came home from another probably multi-month attempts prospecting journey, and I think he probably needs a bit of a rest, and I think you'll see him around a little bit.
that's good.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me. We'll go with that.
I'm trying to be as vague as possible here
It's
without any
it's
no
all good.
spoilers.
Yeah, we get it. I mean, you go out for a long time, you've got to have your downtime. So we'll call it
Gotta
the
have your
downtime right
downtime.
now.
Yeah.
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 So looking at some of the episodes specifically, in episode 1, Sam and Maggie try to connect. Sam says he wants to talk to Maggie about something, but all of these little things keep getting in the way. Your classic trope, right? One of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can we assume that that might continue?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, as I was saying earlier, it's even though Brookfield's a small town, it is a busy town, and there's a lot of people zipping around, a lot of people in each other's business, so to speak, and sometimes that can get in the way of things such as a simple conversation and trying to catch up, and I think that's what's happening so far with Sam and Maggie on the show is, they're really good, really close, friends. And I don't know what Sam wants to tell her, but
So
yeah, I
we
think
do.
there's a lot of fun moments of, that attempting to
Mm,
reconnect. And I
yeah.
think we're gonna have a lot of fun with it.
So we have got to see episode 2, those of us that are following along real time. And so we make a bit of progress in episode 2. Early on, though, we learn a little bit more about the history of Sam and Maggie. How long that there's been maybe a little something there, kind of what's been going on. Could you tell us a little bit about what we discover in episode 2 about what's been happening with Sam and Maggie?
Yeah, I think with Sam and Maggie, I think they have a long history of being, very close with each other. And, both, I find with both Sam and Maggie, they're both kind of characters that are trying to, find their way. Like Maggie has come from, a far piece away. She's a bit of a traveler, and she's also trying to find, you know, where she belongs in life. And I think they have that in common. And I think that really kind of brings the two of them together, that shared commonality. And, they've grown really close relationship wise. But again, Sam's always kind of dipping in and out of town. Like he's also trying to follow his dreams. He's trying to make it as a prospector. And that can cause a bit of, let's say, maybe confusion. Maybe amongst the two of them, and certainly amongst the town. I mean, the town is kind of a buzz, and the town themselves, has their own suspicions with Maggie and Sam, as you'll see and you'll come to know. And even Maggie's parents are, giving some looks Sam way, albeit not very nice looks to start. But yeah, I think there's a lot there to unpack, and I think people have a lot of fun in episodes to come, seeing kind of what happens.
So speaking of confusion, another kind of one of those classic trope moments where in episode 2, Sam and Nora literally run into each other. A little bit of a coffee incident. And
Yeah.
it also creates, in that episode, a bit of confusion for Maggie, where she wonders maybe there's something there between Nora and Sam. Can you talk a little bit about that bit?
Yeah, it's the age old trope, right? You run into
Mhm.
somebody and spill coffee on them, and then I think you're supposed to fall in love or something. Or get slapped. I don't know. One
Yeah.
of the two. No, I think with Nora, I mean, Nora is also a new face in town, right? And nobody really knows why she's there immediately, right? And so it's that kind of, it's the story of the the new girl in town. What's her business? What's her intentions? And why is Sam, talking to her, on multiple occasions, and I think that naturally for anyone, not just Maggie, but for anyone probably in the town who sees it, it makes people flustered and makes people gossip, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Who's this Nora person? Why is she talking to Sam? I
Uh-huh.
thought Sam was talking to Maggie. I don't know. So it's just kind of, it causes a little bit of drama and a little bit of excitement within the town. The unknown.
Yeah. And we do find, I mean, he does pick up in that moment, oh, Nora's a lawyer. And we get a little bit
Mm.
of a glimmer like, oh, maybe there's something there that Sam might need her help with.
Yeah, and it's of course. And then again, from Maggie's perspective, but she doesn't know that, right? Like
Yeah.
Maggie doesn't know, I think, at that point who Nora really is. All she sees is Sam talking to Nora. And then for
Mhm.
Sam, I think some light bulbs go off. Oh, maybe I have a reason to talk to
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nora. Of course, as you'll see by the end is, episode two. But yeah, I think it's just it's for the characters, it's constantly not knowing. It's the unknown that kind of, sends them in a bit of a spin. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. So there's a comment that Maggie makes in episode 2. She
Mhm.
says, Maggie tells her dad that dreamers are a wonderful thing. That's why I always gravitate towards them. You've already kind of hinted that Sam is a bit of a dreamer. So was that a very intentional line put into episode 2?
I think so. I mean, Alfonso's such a great showrunner and writer, and it's just, I think that it could be a little bit of foreshadowing and kind of an explanation of maybe why, Maggie and Sam, really get along so well. Again, they're both willing to kind of go off on their own independent adventures just to find who they are as people. Maggie traveling all the way across the world, Sam continuously going out following his dreams. And I think it's a really endearing quality for anyone to have, to, have the strength to follow your dreams and chase your dreams, even if it makes you the underdog, or even if it, kind of gets you down on your luck at times. So,
Mhm.
I think there's something really special there that Sam and Maggie share in their belief systems, their core belief systems, that sometimes I think maybe, I, you know, that's, I don't want to say their parents don't understand, but it's maybe hard for parents to hear. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. It was pretty neat to hear Maggie kind of turn that situation around. The suitcase there, encouraging her dad to travel with her mom. So that was a pretty neat full circle moment that we got to watch in episode 2.
Yeah, it's neat. I mean, it's in terms of, Maggie and her family's dynamic. Like, I hope you get to talk to Hanukkah as well. But it's really kind of a learning moment for anyone, because I feel like, that dynamic with your parents, it's like, yeah, they're your parents, and yes, it's your daughter or your son, but like, there is that veil of like still always perpetually just learning something about them, right? Like, even though you know them your whole life, human beings are continuously growing and evolving, and as you move away and as you become your own person, small things change here and there. And so you're always kind of learning something about each other. And I think it's just great writing. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It was a neat moment to watch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of the dreaming that Sam has been doing, we don't have to wait too long. We actually find out more in episode 2 that there's been a bit of a payoff with that. So, can you talk about that big reveal and what Sam is able to share with Maggie at the end of episode 2?
Yeah, at the end of episode two, we finally get the moment where Sam gets to catch up with Maggie, and he surprises her with a little gift of appreciation, because she has been a bit of a rock for him, during probably the tough times of his life, and chasing this dream. And we do learn that he has struck a bit of gold, which is a very exciting moment for him and for her and them. Um, Other than that, I don't want to divulge too much more. I will just say is it's not everything is that simple.
Okay. So he's
More to
rich
come.
now, but it's probably not so cut and dry.
More to come. Stay tuned.
Got
Please
it.
stay tuned. Please stay tuned.
So if I ask you, what does this news mean for Sam and Maggie? Can you share anything about that? I mean, we do
Um,
get he does ask her out on a date.
he does ask her out on a date. He does. For what's to come, I would say, um, again, things are not so simple. There's a lot of ups and downs and fun, and turmoil,
Yeah,
and stay tuned.
good. It's all good. So,
Yeah.
if you think about a person, Sam, who all of a sudden has struck gold, um, I mean, if I imagine if I struck gold, I probably would be a bit concerned. Like, this is a big deal, right? This is new territory. If we talk about fears that Sam has, like, where do you see Sam in a situation like that as far as fears? Like, will how will they shape his choices this season?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with Sam, I feel like Sam is a guy who, at his core, he's a very caring individual. And I feel like for him, it's in a way, how do I leave my mark on this world in a positive light? You know, and
This is
that
why we root for Sam.
this is this is why we root for Sam. He is. I mean, he's at his core, he's a hardworking, down to earth, caring individual guy who just likes to help people, and whether that's being the handyman, whether that's, maybe inspiring people by following your dreams. I said it previously, but like I think the common theme for Sam this season is finding himself. And I think coming into to money, that is something you also have, to navigate, and so there's just a lot of, I think, challenges with that. Uh, a lot of up. Sorry, this is me trying to not spoil anything. I think there's a lot of challenges with that. Again, and there's some ups, there's some downs, a lot of fun moments. Trust me, there's a lot of hilarity to come. But yeah, I think Sam's theme is, finding himself and finding, you know, what makes him comfortable, what he considers home, I
Mhm.
think would be the best way to put it.
It sounds like, having visited with Chris and Cindy both about Nora and Michael, that they're in similar situations, both having come to Brookfield, trying to figure out their place there, that maybe that they have, and even with Maggie, that all of those characters have that similar, just trying to figure out where they are,
Yeah.
where they fit in, what is their purpose. And maybe Brookfield's the place for that to happen.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. I mean, it's such a common chord to be struck. And this is not even just the show. This is just people and human
Yeah.
beings, right? Like, I mean, as I was saying, we're always growing, we're always evolving. And if you're lucky, you can find those, you can find the friendships, you have a close relationship with your family, you find the person you're meant to be with. Um, in the midst of the tornado that is life and constant change, and I think that, when Hope Calls, it really nails that theme of everybody just trying to find the things that matter to them, in life. And if you're lucky, you find that early in life, and for others that means it's a little bit more of a journey. But I mean, I think that's kind of the ongoing, I don't want to say end goal, because I don't think it ever,
Right.
ever ends, right?
Right. Yeah. So we talked quite a bit about the Sam and Maggie interactions. We know that Sam
Mhm.
also had a brief little moment with Nora. Will we get to see Sam interact with any other characters this season?
Yeah, I think I think he crosses with most of the characters, to be honest. I can't really give you more details than that, but
It's okay. We'll be looking.
I'll just say I love each and every one of the cast so dearly. It was a lot of fun.
That's great. So, without spoilers, because I know you can't give them away, is there an episode this season that had the most like emotional whiplash for you, where like as you're reading the script, it kind of caught you off guard, like, whoa.
um, I think there's a lot of fun, a lot of fun setups and payoffs, if you will. I think that's the best way to put it. There's a lot of again, sticking with the ups and downs. There's some stuff, when I was originally reading the scripts, I was like, oh no, no. And then there's moments where I was like, oh yes, okay.
Which
You
is
know,
the way we want it, right? We
yeah,
want the
there's a lot of turbulence. I don't know if that's the best word to use, but there's a lot of it, but it's fun throughout. And
yeah.
so like the answer is yes. It's just too bad because of at time of this recording, I can't share more than that. But I think fans of the show should be really excited. And I'm really excited for people to see Sam's arc or his journey throughout this season. It's a lot of fun.
That's great. Something really good to look forward to.
Yeah.
Episode 3 will air this either Thursday on PureFlix or Sunday on Great American Family. Can you give us 3 words to describe episode 3?
Um, sure. Turbulent.
Okay.
Turbulent. Hilarious.
Yeah.
And dramatic.
Okay.
Dramatic. I think. Yes. That's
That's
all I got.
exciting. That's good. No, that's
That's all I
good.
got.
That is great. Um, at the end of the season, looking back, what do you hope that people get out of season 2 of When Hope Calls?
Um, I think just a sense of I think a sense of coming home, and that comfortable spot for a lot of people, both within the show and it's really exciting to have the show back. I mean, I think this started back in 2019.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think right before
Right
it's
before,
been it's been such a long road for people.
yes. It's been
We've
about
gone,
5 years.
my goodness, right? Like 2019, COVID hits. We have to live through that for 3 years, 3 solid years,
Yeah.
and then in terms of our industry and what that meant to, the entertainment that we love, we had a bunch of strikes that happened in the industry, some of which are still going, depending on what part of the
Yeah.
industry you're talking about. But it's so nice to just have a show like this to finally come back to,
Mhm.
that's to bring people back together and bring families together, something that they can watch on a weekly basis. So I hope at the end of this, it's just about, that comfort and coming home, not only for ourselves, but for everybody in the show.
Got it. Yeah. Um, fun question. If John were to go back to Brookfield 100 years, and I asked Chris this question, what modern item would you have to take back to Brookfield?
Oh man. I mean, I don't know if you'll cut it out from our chat before I don't know if we were live yet, but probably, I don't know, a coffee maker. you know, I
I'm with you.
I'm sure they make coffee back then, but I need that quick.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
that. I need that within a matter of seconds. Yeah, probably it's got to be some sort of like coffee maker, maybe I don't know, a deep freezer or something to store all my food, or I don't
So
know.
Chris is taking back a refrigerator.
Yes, Chris.
And
Smart
I said,
call.
what snack are you going to put in there? And he said steaks. So first of all, we talked about how steaks are a snack, but
I mean, I yeah, steak is a snack.
you bring the coffee. He will have the refrigerator with the steaks in the Mountie office. You guys are great.
Listen, if you're as strong as Chris is, you probably need to be eating those steaks. I get it. I get it.
As a
I might I
snack.
might I might be back in time raiding Chris's fridge and turned myself into a bandit for those steaks.
Oh man. I loved it. We did talk a
Uh,
little bit about was there power in 1920 in Brookfield
yeah, I
and
don't.
how, water mill power, that one came up. So we were trying to logistically make it happen,
True.
but yeah.
Maybe I could bring back electricity And I think that would probably reap a lot of benefits, and I could probably bypass the whole prospecting thing.
The good thing about coffee is, you can make it without plugging anything in. So you're golden either
That's
way.
true.
You're golden.
If I could be the creator of I don't know, Nespresso or something.
Do a little pour over and you're covered,
Yeah,
right?
you're probably doing okay.
Jon, can you think of any like fun behind the scenes moment that happened this season that you could share?
Oh man, the unfortunate part is so many are tied to things that are yet to come in the
I get it.
season,
I
and
get it.
I will say that I got to do a lot of things that I had never done before as an actor,
Okay.
which was a lot of fun. I had multiple moments um, where I was in tears laughing
Okay.
because there's just some wacky stuff. So I'm trying to think in the first, you know, it's not too crazy or funny, but like there's in the opening montage when Sam is walking into town with the horse, no word of a lie, that is a true open rancher's field. And so they sent me out there, football length into the field, and they're like, watch out you don't step in any brown patties. It's like, okay. And so that walk in was a very it was a minefield out there, I'll just say that.
Keep your head up, but at the same time, pay attention to what's in front of you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Make sure you have strong peripheral vision down because it could get real messy real quick.
And were you successful?
I was successful. I'm happy to report I didn't have to clean off any shoes. I don't know about the horse, but
Oh man, that's
oh,
great. That is great. Talk about
yeah,
authentic, right?
yeah. Oh, very, very
Oh man.
authentic. So,
I did a little bit of a deep dive before we talked, just to kind of highlight for those that are watching or listening a few projects that they could go back and rewatch. First of all, I never picked up on this. And actually, a friend of mine mentioned this to me because she's been binge watched over the last year, all
hmm,
17, 18 now seasons of Heartland.
yeah,
And so, first of all, I didn't even make the connection that you played Cindy Busby's Ashley part, like you guys were brother and
yeah,
sister on Heartland. And you had several episodes in season 8,
yep.
and you weren't a really nice guy.
I know. I'm sorry. No, I would say I was probably the complete polar opposite of Sam on Heartland. And fun little piece of trivia for anyone who's also watched Heartland. And it's something that me and Cindy had laughed about. We'd never met. So even though we played brother and sister on the show, we never crossed paths. We never had scenes together.
Yeah.
We've both, led multiple, Christmas films,
Uh-huh.
and we've never crossed paths. And
You're right. I mean, going back
yeah,
to season 8, she was not a part of season 8. So,
no, I think she had I can't completely remember why, but I think her character had left the show at that point for a little bit, then comes back later. But we've
yeah,
never crossed paths until When Hope Calls, which
yeah.
we thought was hilarious.
That is really funny. That's great.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
rewatched a little this morning, that last little bit in Heartland where um, Mama Stanton gets up,
Yep.
puts him in his place, and says, "Drink your milk." I'm
Oh
like, that
man.
it was such a
Mom,
good line.
mom, listen to your mothers, okay? It doesn't matter how old you are, always listen to your mom
Yeah.
and take care of them. No, it's funny because yeah, and I had worked with Chris before, which is funny too. There's another little piece of trivia. We worked together years ago, probably 10 years ago, maybe more, on a show called Flashpoint. We had an episode together where we were playing firemen.
So you
And
guys actually were in some scenes together.
yeah, we I had previously worked with him, and it was very brief, but that was kind of a nice familiar face to come back to. There's a couple people. We always do the thing as actors where, excuse me, where we maybe we get the job and they're like, okay, who else is on the cast?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go to their IMDb page and
Mhm.
I'm going to creep them all.
So we're not the only ones, right?
No, no, it's everybody does it.
Yeah.
Everybody does it.
What did we do before IMDb?
I don't know. Memory,
Well,
maybe.
and I don't know, as many times, I think I knew, but my brain, like, we're just going to blame it on the brain. As many times as I've watched Winter Castle, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the guy that
Yeah,
got married in Winter Castle. I had never
yeah.
made that connection.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I worked with another, fan favorite of a lot of the Hardys and
another
Hopefuls,
little Mountie,
Kevin. Yeah,
or
another
not
little
so little.
Mountie as well, or not so little. Yeah. I need to eat more steak next to all of these guys. It's
I'm
ridiculous.
telling you, the refrigerator with the steak snack is the trick.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You got Chris, you got Trevor Donovan, Jesse Hutch, Nick Bateman.
Hmm. Yeah.
Immediately, immediately went and bought all the steaks.
So if those of you that haven't seen Winter Castle, go back and watch Winter Castle because John's in that one as
I
well.
am, yeah. I make a little appearance in that one as well. Yeah.
Lots of Hallmark movie of the weeks. And then as many as come out at the end of the Christmas season, there's so many movies, right? And kind of my gauge, which I'll just be fully transparent, is you got to grab me in the first 15 minutes. If you grab me in the first 15
Yeah.
minutes, I'm in. And Holiday Mismatch was one of those that actually grabbed me in the first 15 minutes this last season. So that was a fun one to watch. Can you talk a little bit about Holiday Mismatch?
Yeah, I was actually in and out of holiday mismatch around, I think it was the same time as When Hope Calls, I think. Yeah. Or I
Yeah.
was just coming off. Like I came into When Hope Calls like pretty hot. I didn't have a lot of time before that, but I mean, getting to work with Beth and Caroline, they are icons. They're
Yeah.
absolute uh legends, and it's crazy because I remember them from Sabrina,
Yeah.
back in the day, and to now be on set with these, you know icons of film. That was another moment where I walked onto set and I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, okay. But honestly, like, they are the nicest, most down to earth, hilarious people you will ever meet. That was another project where I was in tears half the time, and to watch the two of them together just go off. And they're two best friends that probably met when they were, 5 years old and never left each other's side. Like,
Yeah.
and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And they're telling me they haven't seen each other for, maybe a couple years, but they're
Yeah.
like, they are that old friend that you can not see for a long period of time, and then you meet up with them and like nothing has changed.
Pick right back up.
And they were so gracious. And you know it there was a couple scenes on that where it was so nice to have somebody with their experience and their level of comedic timing to bounce ideas off of. And kind of, I remember one scene with Caroline where there's a rat that was like hiding in a Christmas tree that we had brought back from the Christmas tree farm, and a rat jumps out, and my character is like terrified. And I remember shooting that on the day, and it was just like, oh, what if we do this? She's like, yes, or what if we do this, and then this, and then this, and then it was just her and I just bouncing ideas off each other, then going to shoot it, and then crying laughing at just
Uh-huh.
the absurdity of it all. But it's nice to have, people of that caliber make you feel comfortable
Yeah.
on set. And I think that's really important when it comes to the leads of any project, and something that I try to do when I'm a lead on a project. And I will say, bringing it back full circle to When Hope Calls, having Cindy and Chris as, a couple of leaders on the set, you couldn't ask for anyone better.
Yeah.
They're so, I knew Chris before, but having not really known Cindy, like, so welcoming, so nice, so kind, so fun. It really sets the tone for everyone on the production, not just as actors, but everybody on the crew and the production side of things as well. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's nice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so remind us again how we can watch season 2 of When Hope Calls.
Be sure to tune in every Thursday on Great American Pure Flex or on Sunday on Great American Family and Super Channel Heart and Home in Canada. Shout out to my fellow Canadians.
That's right. Yeah.
Stay
John,
tuned.
thank you so much for being here. It's been great to chat with you. We are all rooting for Sam, and we're hoping for a season 3 after. Let's cross our fingers for that, right?
Everybody, keep those fingers crossed. We
That's
would love to
right.
stay in Brookfield.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, guys.